Warning: this video contains content that some may find disturbing or even sickening. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello YouTube, Stacy here, back for another video. Today I am putting the Sony PlayStation Portable against the Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP. I will be comparing the specs and UI of each console. I will discuss original price points as well as launch dates of each console in reception in North America, PAL territories, and Japan at launch. I will discuss and compare accessories. I will show off some titles. I will explain how each console plays the games, as well as overall thoughts, as well as give out a point system. Two quick announcements. When researching the PSP, I came across some unsettling yet sickening stuff about its original advertising campaigns, so be warned. If you can't stomach any mention, feel free to skip the section on the PSP controversies or this video entirely. I apologize for this in advance. That's okay. With all the prologue out of the way, let's get to the steak and potatoes of this video. Launching in Japan on February 14th, 2003, Valentine's Day 2003, for 12,500 yen. North America on March 3rd, 2003, for $99.99 in the US and $149.95 in Canada. In March 28th, 2003, in PAL territories for £89 sterling in the UK, €129.99 in the rest of Europe, and in Australia for $199.99. The Game Boy Advance SP Special launched with a front-lit display, AGS 101, and later came with a backlit display, AGS 101. I personally own the AGS 101. The specs were as follows. Size closed, approximately 8.4 by 8.2 by 2.44 centimeters. Weight 142 grams. Approximately 5 ounces for my US audience. Color 15-bit RGB. Screen 2.9-inch reflective TFT color LCD frame rate at 59.737 Hz. Light source front lit integrated LCD for the AGS 101 or backlit integrated LCD AGS 101. The power was rechargeable lithium-ion battery. Battery life 10 hours of continuous play with light on. 18 hours with light off. These at most 3 hours recharging. AGS 001 front lit screen. Front light can be turned on or off. AGS 101 backlit screen with the ability to change brightness of the backlight as far as initial reception goes, and Wiley of IGN called the Game Boy Advance SP a step in the right direction for Nintendo, praising the system's new redesign over the original Game Boy Advance, and highlighted its inclusion of a backlit screen and rechargeable battery, although there was a minor criticism towards the system's omission of a headphone jack. Apple, take notes on what not to do. Engadget gave it a global score of 84 out of 100, while also praising the features of the redesign, while there was nothing about the system's lack of a headphone jack. Lawson Wong of Fresh Gear called it darn close to perfection, aside from the missing headphone jack. Matthew D. Sarrell of PC Magazine suggested it to consumers as an improvement of the original model, praised the backlight, and integration of a charger as well as improved visual quality. Although he noted that players with larger hands may find difficulty with the system's redesign. The Game Boy Advance SP was compatible with the following accessories: Game Boy Advance Link Cable, Game Boy Advance Wireless Adapter, Game Boy Advance SP headphones, Game Boy Advance SP controller grip, Game Boy Advance SP stereo speakers, Game Boy Advance to Nintendo GameCube link cable, Game Boy Advance screen magnifier, Game Boy Advance worm light, Game Boy Advance mobile GPS, Game Boy micro link cable, Game Shark SP, the famous e-reader, the code breaker, Action Replay Max, the infamous headphone dongle, the Pelican TV tuner, the PlayYan MP3 player cartridge, the screen cover advance, the worm cam, the super rare yet infamous spy cam, which is also called the Digicam SP. Some examples of the games include Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Pokemon Fire Red, and Cartoon Network Block Party. There's a lack of system menu, so once it turns on, it goes straight to loading the game. Overall, it's an enjoyable experience in its unique way. It's also a lesson on what not to do with electronics. Because of a lack of a traditional headphone jack and a lack of a system menu/UI, I will be deducting points based upon a Yu-Gi-Oh! Points system. And since I deduct points, the score for the Gba Sp is an astounding 6,800 out of 8,000. Launching December 12, 2004 in Japan, March 24, 2005 in North America, Brazil, and Indonesia, and September 1st, 2005 in Africa, Europe, the rest of Asia, and Australia, for an average price of $249.99 US dollars. The spiritual successor to the Sony Pocket Station. Despite it being a royal pain in the ass to work on, came with a whole host of specs, which includes a 200 to 333 MHz MIPS R4000 CPU, 2 megabytes of VRAM, 32 megabytes of onboard RAM for PSP 1000 miles only, or 64 megabytes of onboard RAM for the 2000, 3000 Go, and E1000 street models only. Storage is on Sony's proprietary Memory Stick Duo, Memory Stick Pro Duo, Memory Stick Pro Duo HX series, Memory Stick Pro Duo to micro SD adapter, or Memory Stick Micro M2, and 16 gigabytes of additional storage in the Go model only. A 480 by 272 pixel with 24-bit color, 30 by 17 widescreen TFT LCD. The PSP Go had 3.8 inch. Other models 4.3 inch. Graphics custom rendering engine plus Surface Engine CPU. 2.6 G flops. Stereo speakers. Mono speaker in PSP E1000 microphone. PSP 3000 and PSP Go. Let's see. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and Wi-Fi. 802.11b except for PSP Street. IRDA. PSP 1000. USB, Bluetooth and PSP Go, and a UMD drive along with a D-pad, a thumbstick, which can go terribly bad, PlayStation's iconic button layout, as well as L and R buttons, and a button bar, which has a home screen button, responsive volume controls, dedicated brightness control button, a musical note button, a start button, and a select button. I personally own a Felicia Blue 2000 model I imported from Japan. As far as reception goes, the PSP received a generally positive reviews soon after launch. Most reviewers noted similar strengths and weaknesses. CNET awarded the system 8.5 out of 10 and praised the console's powerful hardware and its multimedia capabilities, but lamented the lack of a guard to cover the screen and the reading surface of UMD cartridges. Engadget praised the console's design, stating that it's definitely one well-designed, slick little handheld. PC World commended the built-in Wi-Fi capability, but criticized the lack of a web browser at launch, and the glare and smudges that resulted from the console's glossy exterior. Most reviewers also praised the console's large, bright viewing screen and its audio and video playback capabilities. In 2008, Time listed the PSP as a gotta travel gadget, cited the console's movie selection, telecommunications capability, and GPS functionality. The PlayStation Portable was initially seen as superior to the Nintendo DS. Both devices were revealed in early 2004 because of the designer's emphasis on the technical accomplishments of the system. Nintendo of America then President Reggie Fils-Aimé, however, focused on the experience aspect of the Nintendo DS. The DS started to become more popular than the PSP early on because it attracted more third-party developers and appealed more to the casual gaming market. The Nintendo DS sold more units partially because of its touchscreen and second display. From a multimedia perspective, the PSP also been seen as a competitor to portable media players, notably the iPod Video. That was released the same year. Reviews of the PSP Go were mixed. It was mainly criticized for its initial pricing. Ars Technica called it way too expensive. The Guardian stated that the cost was the biggest issue facing the machine. Engadget said the Go most cost only $50 less than the PS3, which has a Blu-ray player. Wired said the PSP 3000 model was cheaper and supports UMDs. IGN stated that the price increase made the PSP Go a hard sell. The placement of the analog stick next to the D-pad was also criticized. Reviewers also commented on the change from a mini USB port to a proprietary port, making the hardware and cables brought from previous models incompatible. The Go's screen was positively received by Ars Technica, which called the screen's image brilliant, sharp, and clear. And T3 stated that pictures and videos look great. The controls mixed reviews. The Times described them as instantly familiar, whereas CNET and Stuff called the position of the analog stick awkward. The device's capability to use a PS3 controller was praised by New Zealand Herald, but Ars Technica criticized the need to connect the controller and the Go to a PS3 for initial setup. The PSP was not free of controversy either. In late 2005, Sony said it had hired graffiti artists to spray paint advertisements for the PS3 in several major cities, including New York City, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. According to Sony, it was paying businesses and building owners for the right to spray paint their walls. A year later, Sony ran a poster campaign in England A poster bearing the slogan "Take a running jump here" was was removed by a Manchester Piccadilly station tram platform due to concerns that it might encourage unaliving. Later in 2006, a news of a billboard advertisement released in the Netherlands depicting a white woman holding a black woman by the jaw saying, PlayStation Portable White is coming. Spread. Two similar advertisements existed. One showed the two women facing each other on equal footing in fighting stances. The other showed the black woman in a dominant position on top of the white woman. Sony's stated purpose was to contrast the white and black versions of the PSP, but advertisements were interpreted as being racially charged. These advertisements were never released in the rest of the world and were withdrawn from the Netherlands after the controversy. The advertisement attracted international press coverage. Engadget said Sony may have hoped to capitalize on a PR firestorm. Sony came under scrutiny online in December 2006 for a guerrilla marketing campaign in which advertisers posted as young bloggers who desperately wanted the PSP. The site was created by advertising firm Zipatoni. Some examples of accessories for the PSP include, under PSP Go Cradle, PSP N340, PSP Go Cable Adapter, PSP N440, AC Adapter, PSP N104, Protective Film, PSP N510, PSP Go AV Cable, PSP N150, PSP Go Component AV Cable, PSP N180, PSP Go Car Adapter, PSP N380, USB Cable, PSP N430. Under PSP Slim and Light, PSP AC Adapter, PSP 100, PSP Cradle, PSP S340, PSP Cradle Remote, PSP S350G, PSP Car Adapter, PSP 180E, PSP Component AV Cable, PSP S180, PSP HDMI Cable, PSP AV Cable, PSP S150, PSP Battery Pack, 22 milliamp hour Pinot Black, PSP J 15007, Battery Charger, PSP 3300, Pouch and Hand Strap, PSP 170, Headset with Remote Control, PSP S390. Under Device Agnostic, GoCam, PSP 300, GPS Receiver, PSP 290, PSP Radio Player. Model numbers unknown, but only worked in Japan. And one Seg TV tuner. Only works in Japan, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Peru, and the Philippines. Some examples of games for the PSP include Haru Kanaru Toki no Naka 3 Limited Edition Collector's Treasure Box, Luminous, Medici Communications Dodai Shogai, Meiji-sen Dojo. You can boot a Wii game or movie either straight from the PS3 like menu or immediately when you turn on the PSP. The PSP is very fun to play on, and I personally grew up with the Nintendo and PlayStation brands. Despite the controversies and the fact that it's a royal pain in the ass to work on, I give the PSP an astounding 6,600 out of 8,000. Both the PSP and GBA SP are fun consoles to play on, and watch TV and movies on, despite their flaws from a historical standpoint. According to my calculations, Gba Sp won by a margin. Which console do you think should have won? Let me know in the comments. If you like this content, please consider liking this video, commenting if you can, and subscribing to this channel, as well as sharing this video and hitting the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.